What's going on, Facebook? It is Wednesday, July 24th at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and today I have Anthony Glover from what was the
New Professionals.
New Professionals. He's a sales trainer with about 13 years in the business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And we've been friends on Facebook for a couple years now, I think. Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you start in the car business?
So I actually started in the car business when I was very young at a buy here, pay here. And then eventually I came back to it right after a couple years in college to a franchise dealership. And I've been doing that for a while now. After about probably 2 or 3 years as a sales rep, started working into the BDC manager, then worked my way up to used car, new car, GSM. And ultimately, the internet marketing director and corporate trainer for a local dealer group here in the Philadelphia area.
Okay, cool. So for an entire group, you were a corporate trainer. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
We actually have a couple corporate trainers that now work for us at TECOBI that work for a local dealer group here. So I'm pretty familiar with that particular job title. So now, are you still working for a dealership, or do you work for an agency? Where are you working now?
I was working for an agency for one of the first agencies I ever worked with was back in 2009 when I actually went through training with that agency. Then about 2 years ago, I started working with them, and just recently, I'm starting now to kind of explore other options on my own. So from the experience that I've had working with that agency, I've now created New Professionals. Just because now I feel like this is a day and age in where, sales is not so much different than what it always has been, but how we go about it has changed. And you have to be equally as strong in person as you have to be over the phone and through text and email and things of that nature. And no longer can you be one dimensional. I believe it. You and I both know, we both follow Sean Hayes, one of the guys last year, to talk a lot about building your brand and building your own personal brand. And that's one big niche that a lot of people in our industry have not really caught on just yet, even with all that going on with other industry professionals being successful in that boat. So because I found success in doing that myself personally, but also managing and training other people to do that over the years, I feel that it's time for me to be able to do the same thing and offer it on a more wide scale spectrum outside of just the Philadelphia and tri-state area, and offer that through dealerships throughout the nation.
Okay. So how are you traveling out to the dealerships to provide the training, or do you do it remotely?
Yes, on-site training.
It's on-site training.
So those people have me come out and go on-site, typically for 2 or 3 days, work directly with their team. Now, afterwards is where I feel like it's very key for a lot of things what I do versus a lot of what other companies may do, where it's that personal touch afterwards. For example, the last company that I was just working with, last dealership, we started a group text chain and so forth. And since then, we've seen a drastic growth and improvement from every single employee. 2 weeks ago, I sent a text to that chain on a Monday, giving them a tip for something to do as far as a trial close question, and offer that tip. One particular sales rep sold an additional 4 units that week. That he said, normally I probably felt like I wouldn't have sold these cars because I wouldn't have found out that information until it was time to negotiate, which is too late.
Right. Okay. So when you say you do, modern type training, what things are different in your training than what a typical sales trainer would do?
So, a lot of trainers teach, as most managers will teach and tell. But how often do you see an industry professional who used to do something still do it?
Right.
And that's a big thing. So not only am I going to teach you what to say when you're on the phone or teach you what to do when somebody's here, I'm going to do it. I was at a dealership that was in Jacksonville not too long ago. When I was down there, while in the middle of training, I hear a salesperson have to get pulled out of the class because they're having troubles closing a customer. So instead of just continuing with class, I stepped out of the room and went and closed the customer.
Okay.
Because it's not enough to tell people what you can do or what they should do. Most people learn, especially in our industry, they learn by seeing somebody else do it so they can emulate it themselves.
Right. I agree. I think there needs to be more showing and less talking in the training world. There's definitely a lot of trainers who talk a lot, but don't do much showing the staff. So you say you're using text message threads to keep in touch with your clients after training has been complete?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the main form as a group, and then individually I'll break it down for those who want additional or personal attention.
Yeah, we actually do a similar thing here with communication with our clients. We have messenger groups that are created for each and every one of our clients, and then we communicate with them in a group chat via messenger. It's just a really good way to keep in touch with them, keep everyone on the same page, and communicate. So as far as social media goes, are you implementing any social media tactics into your training, or what kind of social media stuff do you?
So my biggest thing is, I am a big fan of video. Anybody who knows me as the video guy. I accidentally shot a video back in 2009. Now, 2009 cell phones didn't have cameras. So that was with the thing called the flip video back then. And I accidentally shot a video on a vehicle that kind of went viral locally and got me over 16,000 views in a very short amount of time. And 2009, that's saying a lot, right? So moving forward, I've always introduced video as part of what I do as far as being a salesperson and with my team, because video is the most engaging thing, and it only becomes more and more engaging as the years go on. You see that with marketing techniques and all that now. People are doing more video ads than they are just regular print ads or just picture ads, things of that nature. So
Right.
it's not enough to just do a testimonial from a customer. When you have a customer there and you're taking a picture of the customer, great. Take a picture of them, tag them, right? So now all their friends get to see you and get exposed to who you are, because your friend just had a great conversation or had a great experience here with me. But also do a video testimonial. Why not? I'll take a video testimonial over a written Google or a dealer rater testimonial any day.
So you're doing video testimonials. Are you doing live video testimonials when you're out at the dealership doing training?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do live testimonials just from my own side. So when I go and train people, I want them to do a live testimonial of what they just learned from the training with me, as far as what they're going to retain, what they remember from it, everything. And I want it live. I don't ever, I really do try to make it a practice never to really set them up for what I want them to say. You just sat through training with me for 2-3 hours, whatever it may be, and we demonstrated some things. So what is it that you really got? What did you take away from this class? Not what do I want you to tell people you took away from the class.
Right. And so video is a big part of your process. What kind of success are the people that you're training? What are they experiencing success-wise on those videos?
So I'll give a perfect example of a sales rep by the name of Cody, kid from California, moved to Philadelphia, didn't really have much people here, and he really took to heart what I was talking about video. And it didn't make him a better salesperson as far as in person to be able to outsell some of the veterans, but the veterans noticed he was getting more people in because he was using video through emailing techniques and those video reviews on Facebook, and was all of a sudden starting to create and generate his own traffic, and they couldn't figure out how. So he went from being the rookie who was greeting all the veterans appointments to being the complete role reversal, to where now the veterans are greeting his appointments, solely because he uses video every single day, whether it's in his testimonials, so now it's creating traction that way for him, or it's in his email campaigns. I mean, think about it this way. We all use emails. We all send templates every single day. And you see most of the time people are going to see it on their cell phone. Well, on their cell phone, it's just a whole bunch of print. But you and I both know someone will watch a minute-long video before they read 10 seconds worth of print. So the same thing you were about to type out and send the customer, type it out still. Go ahead and have it ready. But just shoot a video of the same thing with your face on it, and that's going to get a much better reaction from the customer than anything else anybody else is doing out here. Again, it's the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, I'm definitely a firm believer in video myself. I mean, I do video almost on a daily basis, and I do a lot of Facebook Live video, and video is the way of the future. People just have ADD. I mean, they don't even want to go to websites to find information anymore. They'd rather just watch a quick video, get the answers they're looking for. One thing I've noticed though is salespeople are often very shy when it comes to video. They just don't really want to get in front of the camera, whatever the case is. They're just kind of gun shy. What do you have to say to someone who is shy and doesn't want to get in front of the camera?
Don't start off by putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be too awkward. So for people who are really that shy, I have them start off by simply doing videos of the actual vehicle adventures from somebody. So you get a new lead in, instead of doing a face video like we were talking about before, go outside and shoot video or walk around the car. They'll hear your voice and you're the professional. They can see the car. That's going to still mean more than anything that you can send out as far as print that you're going to send the customer. You're going to send them an online brochure and a couple of pictures. That's no different than what they saw on your website. So why are you sending them the same information?
Right.
They didn't get a video from your website with you talking. So do a virtual walk around, 30 seconds to a minute long, and send it to the customer. What I have found over the years of doing that is the salespeople who start seeing success from those videos start to put their face in front of the camera. Now they're comfortable because they're getting the reaction they want.
Right, right. So what you're saying is you don't necessarily have to be in the video if you're camera shy.
No.
It's just a video with your voice of the vehicle. Let the car be the star. Is kind of the old school saying
Yes.
when it from back in the day, but with advertising. But let the car be the star. You don't necessarily need to be in the video. You could do a walk around of the vehicle that they're interested in and send the customer the video, whether it's text message, email, or however you're going to deliver it. One thing I've noticed is by getting the customer to go live from their Facebook page when they're doing a testimonial about their experience at the dealership, it seems to get more views and views from the right people as opposed to the salesman doing the video and tagging the customer. Have you had any experience with that? Have you done any testing? It is a little awkward to ask a customer to go live because usually they haven't gone live before. But I've had pretty good success at talking them into it if you just make it seem like it's no big deal. Sometimes they'll just hand you their phone and you can kind of set up the live video. Have you done any of testing with that with any of the training that you're doing?
So it's never normally, when I have tried, it's not on the first trip. It's normally on the second or third trip where I've been back to the dealership because I have to identify the person who's already been consistent with using video in one shape or form, because then they have the confidence to go ahead and ask the customer to do that. You and I both know if you ask a customer with any type of reluctancy or unsureness, they're not going to do it. So if you're uncomfortable, you're going to make them uncomfortable. Right. So most of the time you find out with the guy who's either been consistent or the veteran who's already has that confidence level to be able to do so. When you convey it right to them, yes, they have no problem. They'll do the video and you get a ton of views right away, especially for those who haven't gone live before, because you and I both know if somebody hasn't been live and they do their first live video, all of their friends are going to get a notification that says, this is X, Y, and Z's first live video, tune in. That's why you get so many eyeballs in it versus yours. People know you're doing videos all the time. So it's like, oh, it's another video from Anthony. Okay, it's got to be a customer. No big deal. But when they come back and see it, it still means a lot, but not as much from the customer's page. But that's why you got to have the confidence.
Yeah, I definitely think that if you can talk your customers into doing the live video on a video testimonial, it works best. And then the other input that I have on that is to make sure that your sound quality is good. Because I always hear these sales guys going live and it's like they're next to the shop and you hear drills and you can barely hear what they're saying. I actually have a little mic here that I use. It's a Samsung Go right here, Samsung Go. You can get it at Best Buy. I think it was like $200 or something. I mean, it's a little pricey, but it's a wireless mic that can be added to your phone, which gives you a pretty clear, voice. So if you are going to do live videos, your audio quality is definitely important, in my opinion. You got to make sure people can hear you and not just, it doesn't sound like you're 100 miles away. So outside of Facebook, what other kind of training do you do when you go into a store?
So phone training for what you need to say on the phone, because a lot of times people don't realize, especially salespeople more than BDC reps, a lot of things you say and do in person, you don't do on the phone, and you make it a focal point on the phone.
Right.
Even the sales process, when people meet, greet, qualify, and do all that, one of the comments, I'm at a dealership right now doing trading, and one person said to me, one of my first qualifying questions is, how much were you looking to spend, or what payments are you looking for? How much down? I said, okay, why are we asking this question right now?
Right.
It's irrelevant at this point in the conversation. Not saying it's an irrelevant question, but right now is not the right time for it. In any introduction for a professional, it's your job to identify who you are, know who you're talking to, but more importantly, you get control of your situation. If you're not in control, then the customer's going to be leading you. You're not going to be able to lead them. And that stands true in any phone call or any in-store visit with a customer. And if you think about it from any salesperson standpoint, and even a sales manager will agree to this, is that most customers who leave that were happy, those are the deals that were really easy. You're going to get referrals, you're going to get great reviews, and you probably made some money that you earned, right? The guy who typically leaves is upset. You're worried about CSI. You're not going to get reviews. You're not going to get referrals. That person is probably one that you were following. So when we're in control and we're following our process through the road to the sale like it's meant to be without skipping steps and short-circuiting, it puts us in the best position to maximize the percentage we're going to sell a car and the profit that maybe we could potentially earn on that deal. One thing my manager used asked me all the time as a salesperson before he gave me numbers was, have you earned the right to present this? Because if you haven't earned the right, just be honest with me, tell me, and I'll get the TO manager to do it.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
I definitely think it seems like we just, I mean, managers are always harping, don't skip the steps to the sale, which is very important in sales. Is you have to follow the process in order for sales processes to work. But
Right.
on the phone, I do notice that the steps are constantly skipped, and we are asking for down payments and cosigners and all kinds of stuff before we even know what kind of vehicle that customer is going to end up getting. I mean, because we all know 9 times out of 10 they end up with a different car than what they came in on when it was on the phone.
Exactly.
And you're sitting here talking to someone about, you know, a vehicle that they're just not going to end up driving home. And I see the steps of the sale skipped pretty often. So phone training is a big part of what you do. What about taking the up and in the process once they come into the dealership?
So I say those processes are two different ones. Number one, we have a different process for a walk-in who comes in versus somebody who's scheduled an appointment. And that's a big flaw that we see in our industry because a lot of times those two people get treated the same way and end up being at the dealership for the same amount of time, which should
Right.
never happen.
Right.
You know, if we have an appointment, we need to be well prepared. How many of us schedule appointments to go see something as little as our doctor's office, right? Just for a yearly follow-up. And you schedule at 9:15 in the morning, your doctor doesn't see you until 9:45. How frustrated are you when that happens?
Right.
So why would you not think that's going to happen to a customer when they're here at the dealership? Or you schedule, you know, for you and your wife to go out tonight to a dinner and you guys have an 8 p.m. reservation and your table's not ready till 8:30. It ruins the entire experience when you're not prepared for me when we have an agreement for what time I'm going to be there. So
Right.
walk-in by nature is still an internet customer. I don't know why people look at them differently because nobody is reading out of phone books or anything of that nature or looking at some type of print before coming to a dealership. They're researching online. Although they didn't schedule an appointment, they're coming to your door as a well-educated or knowledgeable customer as far as whatever they've researched on. Industry stats tell us that on average, most people are spending about 14 hours online before they physically visit a dealership and buy a car.
Right.
They're only going to about 1.7 to 2.1 dealerships, somewhere in that range. So if they're coming to you, they already spent a certain amount of time doing some research or talking to friends, family, whatever it may be before they got there. So acknowledge it, don't belittle it. Don't
Right.
discredit the information that they have. Help them understand it.
Right.
I give this example in all my trainings. Take it away from the car professional, and I'll use doctors as the perfect example. If something goes wrong with me, what do we all do? You Google it, you WebMD, you YouTube doctor, you do all that. And then after a couple of days when that hasn't worked, you finally call your doctor, you schedule an appointment, and you will go to your doctor as if you're an expert with all your training or with all your knowledge you have learned and tell your doctor what you think you have. And what does your doctor do as a professional? Slow you down, ask you the relevant questions in which they're in control of asking to find out the right diagnosis to give you the right prescription or recommendation to move forward. They don't discount what you've done. They'll actually acknowledge it. But then it's like, okay, I understand that. But at the same time, I have a PhD. I got 10 years of experience from schooling before I was even allowed to do this.
Right.
So just because you're well knowledge doesn't mean you're an expert or professional in what you learn. You can be a smart dummy. There are such things as that.
Right.
You have
Right.
all this information that you don't know what to deal with. And that's what a professional comes in at. The problem is in the 80-20 rule is that the 20%ers in our business understand that they put themselves in front of customers, both over the phone, email, text, and in person, as I am a professional first and foremost. I am not a salesperson. I'm a professional. Professionals can be trusted. Professionals, people will allow them to guide them to where they need to go, not be pushed or forced into a decision. And that's where the soft sell comes down in the 21st century. We live in a century where people are easily offended by everything right now. So you have to be extremely careful and have a soft sell with customers. And the only way you can do that is to guide them. The minute you start to push a customer is the minute they're going to pull away.
Yeah, I'm in a unique position with that because I've always been a vendor and I've always had to sell to car dealers. So my sales process has always been a soft sell. I've never really been a pushy salesperson because the second I push on a dealer, they instantly know what I'm doing. I can't use sales tactics on them. I can't use Grant Cardone sales tactics really unless I want to just sell the weak dealers. If I want to get the stronger dealers, I have to be more educational with them as opposed to pushy and let them make up their own mind. And I've had to do this before the internet. I know now that the internet's coming around, we're getting a lot of customers that are much more educated. And it's important that We don't offend them with, insulting their intelligence. Even if they are off base with what they think they know, we should still address it and, and make sure that we are addressing their concerns and letting them know, hey, we know you've done this research. We're not trying to hide anything from you. So I'm 100% agreement with that process changing a little bit. I'm kind of a blend between old school and new school. There's some old school stuff that I still think needs to be done, but I also think that we need to rethink some of that and come up with some new school processes to kind of wrap around it. And when I'm building technology, that's an important part of what I'm trying to build into the technology is a more streamlined way of making sure that the customer knows, hey, we're here to help you, not take advantage of you or hurt you. So I definitely breaking down those defenses on the customer is important. And if you listen to Frank Kernite, he's same thing. He preaches the same thing. It's about transparency and making sure that the customer realizes that you're not there to hurt them, and he's able to sell 100 cars a month by building that trust with customers. Is what it comes down to. Is the sooner you can get trust, the faster the car deal is going to go.
Well, listen, Frank's a great guy. I'm actually 10 minutes from Frank. We're both Delco guys, so it must be something in the water out here. You guys got to come get some for yourself. But yes, ultimately, yes, you have to. And you said it over and over again. And although I hear vendors say it and I hear dealerships say it, but how often is it really done? You kept saying my process or the process, right? Dealerships will say it, owners will say it, managers will say it, but I won't name names. But I've been to multiple dealerships. And a lot of times I go there and I ask them for their written process, and there's no such thing. You can't follow a process if it's not written, and if you're not holding people accountable to one. Otherwise, what you have is a whole bunch of chiefs with a whole bunch of Indians running their own processes, which is why the road to the sale isn't consistent in most places.
Yeah, and I mean it's not easy to always get a process dialed down as a business.
Right.
I mean it's definitely something that requires help and assistance to get the right process in place and documented. I mean, we struggled with it initially when we started TECOBI, where we didn't really know what we didn't know because we're doing something so different. And we had to kind of stumble through the process. So it never really got written down because we were just, we'd make changes to it so frequently, we would have to change it so often. But now we're getting to the point where we actually can document the process. And I literally we're literally in the process of documenting everything right now because we've got the kinks ironed out. We know exactly what process we want to stick to. So in the defense of some dealers, it is difficult to get the right process sometimes, but you do need to get it written down, and you need to, have the process dialed in so that your dealership can work like a machine. If your dealership doesn't work like a machine, it's not going to function efficiently. So it's definitely got to have all the gears in the right place and everything oiled properly for it to crank out car deals.
Well, I think I didn't even understand it myself in the industry in my beginning years, and honestly, I didn't really start to understand process until I know this is going to sound funny, until Shark Tank existed, and you start listening to the guys that are on there. And one of the big things I listened to them about for a lot of businesses, especially when you have an individual that was pitching to them, was you have a great business, but I can't invest in you because to invest in your business is to have you. Your business, you have to learn, you have to create processes for you to be able to scale, which now makes you stagnant because in order for you to scale, I have to be able to duplicate you, but you don't know how to do that. And that's where a lot of dealerships fall into play too, where, you're a 100-car store will say you want to grow to 150 or 200, but you can't do it because you haven't figured out what your process is that works. Because as any business, in order to get a right process, you do have to try different things and make changes and alterations and things of that nature. But at some time, you have to take note of, okay, when we did this work, let's try this again and stick to it, or let's make this adjustment to it and see what happens there. It's like trial and error, as we all go through. But for any business to grow at some point in time, you do have to have a very structured and ordered process to be able to duplicate what it is you're expecting so that, one, your customers have the same experience through and through. It's kind of like, I think I heard somebody say this not long ago, that the McDonald's is so well, and a lot of these fast food chains are so well because they give you such written and detailed processes. It's not just throw the fries in the fryer. It's Make sure the fries are frozen, come out of the bag, has to be at room temperature before you put it in the fryer. When you put it in the fryer, make sure it's preheated to 400 degrees. When you drop them in, it goes in for exactly 2 minutes and 24 seconds. If it's in for 2 minutes and 26 seconds, throw the batch out. It's not acceptable by our standards.
Right.
And I know that's extreme, but it's a process put in place so that it's almost, it's I don't want to call it dummy proof, but it's duplication so that you can be repetitive with it and be consistent with the same outcome over and over again.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'm moving my screen here so you can see this here is a written process of the roads to sale behind me that this dealership put together. It has all 10 steps. It's broken out. It's a kind of a crazy map, but they have it written out. So now when they have like a new hire and they have to do onboarding, everybody learns that process. Nobody's going to deviate from it because we know what that is and what to expect, and you understand these steps. And then hopefully what is supposed to happen after that is management teams train on this, continue coaching on this, and so forth. And then after that, you can create performance evaluations and all those kind of things that help improve your sales team as they're here.
Right. Yeah, process is important. I can't stress that anymore, is that it needs to be written down, not just process, not just, hey, guy yelling at your guys, hey, I want you to do this, and then expecting them to go out and remember what they're supposed to do. It's got to be written down, and it's got to be something where if I'm a salesperson and I run into an issue, I just look at my process and I say, okay, this is what I do. Here's the problem. Here's the solution, and it'll change your life. I mean, that's a lot of dealers I see. They think that they're just going to spend more money on advertising or keep changing advertising vendors, and then it's going to get them from 100 to 150. And it's just, all you're doing is throwing, fuel onto the flame. When you don't have a dialed in process that's documented and everyone's following it, and it's running like a machine. It doesn't matter. You can put $100,000 a month in advertising and it's not going to sell more cars, just because the process is not dialed in. And
I've seen that first and foremost. I experienced that myself in 2012. This is when dealerships were really advertising on Craigslist with cars and all that kind of stuff. And Facebook just started coming through, and obviously eBay was really big back then with selling cars. And the dealer group that I was working with, we partnered with this company, and they came in, they brought us like another 500, 600 more opportunities per month than we were used to handling. But because we didn't have a process in place for the influx of people that we were going to have to manage, you mismanaged every last one of them. So what you were used to managing, we'll say 500 people, is now 1,000. How can you correctly manage 1,000 when you weren't doing 500 the right way?
Right.
Spend more money and sell the same amount of cars or less and piss more people off, unfortunately, because you're not prepared.
I can usually tell right away. I mean, I'm an advertising vendor. I sell advertising for a living, but I can tell you, dealers, don't spend the money if you don't have a plan on the process. That's the number one failing factor with our service, and every service I've ever sold was they think they're just going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 and it's going to sell more cars, but they don't have any infrastructure or who's going to be responsible, who's going to be held accountable, what are we going to say, how are we going to monitor that they're saying this, how are we going to make sure that there's a process that's followed. Now, as a technology developer and someone who can write software, I'm trying to build more and more software to automate that so that my room for failure is minimized. Because when a dealership's processes broke down, I end up losing in the end of it too. So I'm trying to build as much software and accountability into it as possible so that we can make it easier. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a process, you don't have accountability, and you're not going to follow it, then don't spend the money, because it's going to go right out the window. You're going to probably burn a bridge with a vendor that you could have sold cars with. That it was just a matter of process and making sure that it's dialed in and it's someone's held responsible for it. So we're almost out of time now. I want to appreciate you, man. I know you're at a dealership, so crush it today. Make sure that you teach some of those newer guys some new tactics and keep them in the business. We need good people in the business. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on today and do this live video. Do you have anything you want to close with?
Well, first, I appreciate you having me out. We've had a long-standing relationship. I think when you first started your company, I was one of your first 10 customers. And we found a lot of success with you guys. And even throughout the years, I always recommend you guys, just because, in this business, it's not just in this business. And this is something I'm going to say from a vendor standpoint, from a dealership standpoint, it's all the relationship and networking that's going to make you successful. If you don't build relationships and you don't network, I don't care how good of a salesperson you are, vendor, manager, whatever, without those relationships in your network, you're going to be stagnant because you can't do it alone. You got to have a foundation of people behind you that can help you and have other experts that know things that you don't know, and you can bounce things off of each other. There's enough of us in the business that we can help and support each other, which is why I love groups and love forums like this, so we can all share and work with each other. Because listen, I don't know it all. Jason doesn't know it all. Bill, all these other guys I see here, nobody in this room is a know-it-all. So we have to make sure that we can trust each other, share with each other, help each other, and continue to grow.
Right. Relationships are everything, man. That's why I'm doing these videos, to help people build some relationships in this business. All right, man. Rock it today. Sell some cars, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.
All right. Appreciate it. Take care.